Well, good evening from some news from Infected Blood Australia. And look what we have here. Red Cross ordered to pay back staff 25 million in underpaid wages. This is 7 News reporting the scandal. The Red Cross in Australia has been ordered by the Fair Work Ombudsman to pay back 25 million in underpaid wages. The organisation's humanitarian arm and blood donation division largely underpaid employees by applying the incorrect award or enterprise agreement, or by believing some employees lay outside of the award. The underpayments range from less than $100 to more than 20 grand between 2010 and 2021. More than 10,000 employees in the humanitarian division were underpaid, around $22 million between 2012 and 2021. Red Cross self-reported the underpayment to the Ombudsman in 2018, and a subsequent investigation also found underpayments in the lifeblood division. I bet they did. Up to 1,160 lifeblood employees were underpaid $3.5 million in leave entitlements, shift work, and public holiday rates, overtime, superannuation, and minimum pay rates between 2010 and 2021. The organisation has entered into 2 enforceable undertakings with the Ombudsman and has since paid back more than $10 million. It has until February 21 next year to repay the remaining amount, plus interest and superannuation. The undertakings include engaging at its own cost an expert auditing firm to check its workplace law compliance for the next 2 or 3 years and setting up an independent hotline to assist staff. The organisation apologised for the error in an email to staff and reiterated the underpayments were unintentional. I acknowledge this process has taken longer than hoped, but has been important in order to resolve this properly and fully, Chief Executive Kim Fitzner wrote. I thank current and former employees and their families for the understanding. So ends the story from 7 News, this new latest revelation of the scandals affecting the Australian Red Cross Blood Service or the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood. And I've got one more thing to add as Charles Mackenzie, President of Infected Blood Australia. To those staff who've been defrauded and underpaid by the Australian Red Cross, this is yet another example of employers acting reprehensibly. And the fact that it's a so-called humanitarian organisation is an even greater disgrace. But I've got news for you. You might find that the Australian Red Cross and Lifeblood are paying out some pretty decent-sized redundancies. And I'm sorry to say that. And the reason for that is this. The Canadian Red Cross were removed from the management of Canada's blood supply after they were exposed as having been responsible for tens of thousands of infections that could have been prevented, infections like hepatitis C from contaminated blood transfusions and blood products. They were removed from Canada's blood supply when a Royal Commission found them in fault. Well, the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood and the Australian Red Cross Blood Service have done the exact same thing here in Australia. Tens of thousands of Australians were infected with hepatitis C before the 2000s from Australian Red Cross, Lifeblood, blood transfusion and blood products. And the Australian Red Cross has still yet to account and is still covering up the fact that some patients were knowingly delivered contaminated blood and they haven't helped anybody and they've lied and cheated, and it's all going to come out. And we fully expect, as do our lawyers, that the Australian Red Cross be removed from the management of Australia's blood supply. So they won't be underpaying anybody. They probably won't be paying anybody. Goodbye.